Happy Easter, you filthy animal. President Donald Trump was kind of low-key on the network talk shows and on the news and video this weekend. However, he was very active on social media, including his Truth Social, where he posted about multiple different things. Most notably was an Easter message that got a lot of people's attention. He wrote, "Happy Easter to all, including the Radical Left Lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, the mentally insane and well-known MS-13 gang members and wife beaters back into our country. Happy Easter also to the weak and ineffective judges and law enforcement officials who are allowing this sinister attack on our nation to continue. An attack so violent that it will never be forgotten. Sleepy Joe Biden purposely allowed millions of criminals to enter our country totally unvetted and unchecked through an open borders policy that will go down in history as the single most calamitous act ever perpetrated upon America. He was by far our worst and most incompetent president, a man who had absolutely no idea what he was doing. But to him and to the person that ran and manipulated the auto pen, perhaps our real president, and to all of the people who cheated in the 2020 presidential election in order to get this highly destructive moron elected, I wish you, with great love, sincerity, and affection, a very happy Easter." There may have been just a touch of sarcasm in that message, but that was President Donald Trump's Easter message to the world. It wasn't his only Easter message. He had another Easter message, one that was basically, love and support, and he and Melania wishes all well. Now, this, of course, happened just hours before the big news of the day, and that is the passing of Pope Francis. Pope Francis, I guess it was Monday morning at Italy time, which would have been sometime Sunday night, right after Easter, passed away at the age of 88. Not at all shocking. We knew that he wasn't in good health. We knew that he'd suffered from pneumonia and had various health complications, and that it seemed like a matter of time. But it's interesting because it comes right on the heels of a visit that J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, had with the pontiff. J.D. Vance went to Italy, traveled with his wife, Usha. They were there with their kids, too. They toured the Vatican. They met with the Pope. They had a brief audience with him yesterday because it was Easter and there was a lot going on. The Pope also spoke to the crowd, and then J.D. Vance and his family headed home, only to find out this morning that the Pope had passed away. There are some conspiracy theories online, which I will not mention, but let me just say I'm like 100% sure J.D. Vance had absolutely nothing to do with the death of Pope Francis. I'm pretty sure it was all just coincidental. J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, though, did post on X, "I just learned of the passing of Pope Francis. My heart goes out to the millions of Christians all over the world who loved him. I was happy to see him yesterday, though he was obviously very ill. But I'll always remember him for the bellow homily he gave in the very early days of COVID. It was really quite beautiful. May God rest his soul." And he shared some other photos of him and his family in Italy over the weekend, meeting with the Pope, greeting the Pope, seeing the Vatican, meeting with Giorgia Meloni, and being, the Council of Cardinals, and just being an all-around great guy and a great example of American exceptionalism. We're very, very excited to have J.D. Vance in our corner. Something else that continued to be big news over the weekend was the saga of Senator Chris Van Hollen, who traveled to El Salvador on the taxpayer dime to meet with Abrego Garcia, who is an MS-13 gang member currently being held in a maximum security prison in El Salvador. He was deported by the United States. The Trump administration took him to El Salvador. President Bukele locked him up. He's an MS-13 gang member and terrorist. That's been confirmed. And President Donald Trump over the weekend took to Truth Social to hold up a photograph of the gang tats, the tattoos across Abrego Garcia's left hand. And he wrote, "This is the hand of the man that the Democrats feel should be brought back to the United States because he is such a fine and innocent person. They said he is not a member of MS-13, even though he's got MS-13 tattooed onto his knuckles. And 2 highly respected courts found that he was a member of MS-13, beat up his wife, etc. I was elected to take bad people out of the United States, among other things. I must be allowed to do my job. Make America great again. Following this announcement, the Supreme Court put an emergency stop to all of the President Donald Trump deportations going on currently under the Alien Enemies Act. And if anyone was being deported under the Alien Enemies Act, they were no longer allowed to be doing so pending the Supreme Court's decision. That ruffled a few feathers on the right, as some justices sided once again with the Democrats to stop Donald Trump and to stop Donald Trump from executing his agenda of keeping America safe and getting violent criminals out of the United States. Now, I should point out that this order by the court is only regarding illegal immigrants who are being deported via the Alien Enemies Act. There are still other ways that you can deport people, thanks to the multiple different laws and executive orders that President Donald Trump has helped pass and also has signed since he became president. Once again, he continued to talk about how these Democrats are trying to portray Abrego Garcia as something other than he is, which is a violent criminal. And he wrote, radical lunatic Democrats and their comrades in the fake news media are falsely making Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia out to be a very sweet and innocent person, which is a total, blatant, and dangerous lie. Garcia has been found by 2 separate courts to be a member of the violent killer gang MS-13, was in our country illegally, and is under a deportation order. It is despicable and un-American for liberals in the mainstream media to hate our country so much and be obsessed with protecting criminals instead of working to keep our border, streets, and families safe. Those lying to the American people on behalf of violent criminals have to be held responsible by the agencies and the courts. Make America great again. This is something that President Donald Trump has continued to fight against as he continues to try to make America safe by deporting these dangerous thugs, dangerous criminals, and terrorists. MS-13 has been declared a terrorist organization. It is an organization of angry and dangerous criminals who have no respect for human life, especially human American life. They bring in drugs, they traffic in human beings. And President Donald Trump has said, look, we are at war with this foreign entity, and therefore the Alien Enemies Act is 100% accurate in its application here. And that's how he's been able to get so many of these violent criminals out of the country. Now, there's still no word about what's going to happen with Abrego Garcia, but it appears that the Democrats are not letting go, especially since Chris Van Hollen is becoming somewhat of a star on the left, being featured on all of the Sunday morning programs yesterday as he returned from El Salvador to meet with this MS-13 gang member. President Donald Trump also pushing forward with his tariffs. He is railing against people who are railing against tariffs. He wrote, the businessmen who criticize tariffs are bad at business, but really bad at politics. They don't understand or realize that I am the greatest friend that American capitalism has ever had. This, of course, regarding Donald Trump's plan to fund the United States of America, not with internal revenue, but with external revenue. And that is something that is still being contemplated and still being criticized by many people because of the short-term losses to the stock market or the roller coaster ride that people have been on with their investments and their retirement plans, not realizing the long-term effects that these tariffs are going to have positively on the American economy and individual American finances. Donald Trump wrote, non-tariff cheating. 1, currency manipulation. These are all the ways, by the way, that Donald Trump wants you to know there are, it's not just tariffs that do damage to the United States of America. There's also non-tariff issues. One of them is currency manipulation. VAT taxes, which act as tariffs and export subsidies, dumping below cost, export subsidies and other government subsidies, protective agricultural standards, no genetically engineered corn in the EU, their beef and their pork, their ridiculous non-scientific beef and pork policies, protective technical standards, counterfeiting, piracy and IP theft, transshipping to evade tariffs. So tariffs is one step at trying to level the playing field. But Donald Trump wants everybody to know there's a lot of other things that we need to take care of. There's a lot of other ways that we are being taken advantage of, and we need to make sure that we are not being taken advantage of in those ways. And that is something that actually Secretary Doug Burgum was speaking about. He was talking about how he continues to cut waste, fraud, and abuse and overhead and make America a great epicenter of economic value one more time.
I mean, what we're doing right now is emptying out the barn and deciding what should go back in. And what should go back in is the stuff that actually serves the American people. That's what it is. And so we take national parks for an example. There is so much overhead of people that work for the park system that don't work in a park. We can actually increase the number of people. Like this summer, we'll have more people working in Yellowstone than we had in 2020. More people working, but we could end up with fewer people across the whole park system. Because guess what? We may not need that many people in IT. We may not need that many people in HR. There's things that we can do to streamline. And if we got people that are in this business because they care about the environment and they care about our lands, we've got customer-facing, land-facing jobs available. We have 5,000 jobs posted to go work in the parks, but we don't need wildfire fighters, people that are for summer help, come work for us, but work in a job where we're serving the public as opposed to in DC or in a regional location where you're just doing overhead that's part of the barn that's never been cleaned out.
Yeah, so the battle rages on. There's a battle with government waste, fraud, and abuse. There's a battle with tariffs and manipulation of economies worldwide. And then, of course, there's the battle over immigration and whether or not criminal, illegal, thug, alien, gang member terrorists should be allowed in our country or whether we should get rid of all of them. And unfortunately, there are people in the Democrat Party who are vocally fighting to save illegal criminal aliens and keep them in the United States of America, where they can do harm to, the United States, the United States citizens. President Donald Trump did just moments ago, by the way, release a statement about Pope Francis. He wrote on Truth Social, just like I said, right while we were recording, he wrote, "Rest in peace, Pope Francis." Make sure I can read it here. "Rest in peace, Pope Francis. May God bless him and all who loved him." This, of course, is going to be a breaking news story throughout the day. We will probably have some live reports, maybe a live Oval Office visit from President Donald Trump later on in the day, and we will continue to follow all of these stories and more. We have a second daily podcast, by the way, for those of you that didn't know, because there is so much news and it breaks all the time. We do not only Mark Kaye, we not only do the 47 daily podcast, but Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, our second podcast, which airs at 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch it live if you want to watch the live stream, or if you'd prefer, there is the recorded version, which is available on iTunes and Spotify and wherever you want to get your podcast. Just search Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Download, listen, and enjoy.